So we are back here with MedPro CFO Live, and today's topic I think is really probably hits home. Um, I I'm new to specializing in just the medical industry. My background has been a little bit more diverse with different industries, and it has been a learning experience for me how accounts receivable, billing, collections really kind of works more in the medical field than say other industries that I have a little bit more experience with, and I'm going to let Joanne really kind of, this is always like, this is more in Joanne's area, but it's because it's been such a hot topic. And so let's talk real quick and share with our audience. And Joanne did write us a blog out there. So it is out there on our website, medprocfo.us. And you can go out and read this in more detail. It really has been a game changer for some of our clients, and Joanne's going to share some of that. But I'm going to let Joanne talk about really how our clients can stop losing revenue and how to take control of their medical billing and collections and why. And even kind of point out what are some red flags that some of our clients or some of our listeners here can be looking for. So Joanne, let's talk about billing. You know, your favorite subject out there. Let's talk about billing and how it's affected some of our clients and so on.
Well, Amy, as you know, it's healthcare is so unique. It's not like other industries. Right now with rising costs, we don't have the opportunity to just be like, oh, here's the bill. And instead of that $100, now it's 150. It's very difficult working with insurance companies, and revenue is the lifeline. Cash is the lifeline for our small clinic owners.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have the cash coming in on a timely basis, regular basis, it can cause some real constraints.
Yeah.
So we've been really focusing in on the billing side of things, mostly because the CEOs really need to be educated. They were taught in medical school how to be an amazing clinician. But when they made that jump and they decided to become a clinic owner, there's just some things that they need to switch hats, and they need to learn how their billing workflows need to happen, how to monitor them, how to make sure that they're being worked regularly, how to report on them, and making sure that they're not leaving, money on the table, because it could be the difference between making payroll on time and not. It's a
Yes,
huge impact.
absolutely. So before we get into how like some of your solutions, what are some of the red flags that lets you know that this is and you said it a while ago, they got to wear multiple hats. But if you think about it, within a small clinic, you have these different departments, right? So you have the patient care department, you have the sales and marketing, and this billing segment, the collections and billing, is a department. Now you might be a small clinic and you may be like, okay, there's only 3 of us here and we all kind of share, but ultimately every clinic, every business has to think about this collection department, this billing department as its own little entity within the clinic that has to be managed. And so what are some red flags that you've seen that are out there that lets them know that, hey, you need to take a deeper look at this?
So I beg everyone, please, please, please don't wait until your cash is tight. That is the number one red flag,
right? No money in the bank.
But our clientele and our audience, they vary in size, right? So you might have that front desk dropping the bills, or maybe the CEO, once they're done with seeing their patients, they might be dropping the bills as well. Or they might have a dedicated billing team. So we're talking to kind of an array of clients out there. And in just keeping that in mind, regardless of what size you are, how many bills you're dropping per day, one, you should be billing daily. Yes, daily. Don't wait until the end of the week. Do not wait for your notes to be signed a week later. Not only should you have a financial policy in place, you should let your clinicians know that they have 24 to 48 hours max to sign their notes. Those bills should be out the door within 3 days max. You're working. You want to make sure you collect that money at a consistent cadence, just the way your clinicians are seeing patients on a consistent basis. So getting the bills out the door is very important. Then on top of that, monitoring it, making sure on a weekly basis you're touching the claims. Where is it? This is 30 days out. Why hasn't it been collected? What's the status on the portal? Is the insurance company letting us know what's going on? Are we seeing patterns? Are we getting denials and requests for records from the same payer? Is there anything we can do about it? Is verification and front desk not doing their job? So if you don't monitor your AR on a weekly basis, you might have some holes and some leaks in your boat that over time can really hurt you. And then the last thing is making sure you have at least a monthly financial reporting dashboard where you can see your billing KPIs, your days outstanding, pretty much your days in AR, days to bill, how big your aging buckets are, how much it's costing you to drop that claim. Because
Mhm.
costing you 30, 40, $50, to get reimbursed on that claim because you got 6 people working, within your billing team, and you're only getting reimbursed $100, you have a problem. So just making sure that based off of your structure and your client needs, that you have a financial reporting at least on a monthly basis where you can see where your billing systems are and some really strong SOPs to make sure you're holding everybody accountable.
So you talk about SOPs, and I think that's one of the things that we've seen, and I think that's across the board in every department. Like whether it's very important that everybody's rowing in the same way, right? Like we're in the boat, we're all rowing in the same direction, and that when that happens, then when something isn't done right, it stands out like a sore thumb, right? So you and I, we've kind of been through this billing thing now, and we've seen some different results. We have different clients, like you said. Every client, I think every one of our clients are different. Every single one of our clients are different, but SOPs
Mm-hmm.
are across the board. So one of the things I think that I've identified is the clients that have SOPs in place versus the ones that didn't. How important that's been, especially let's talk about whether it's an in-house billing team or an outsource billing
Okay.
team. How important that is. It's because I don't think there's one right answer or wrong answer, right? They're different for different clinics, but kind of talk about how maybe even some ways or tips that a clinic can put some SOPs in place.
If we're talking about in-house teams, it is extremely important that we do have SOPs, so they have expectations. Clinicians need to know that they need to have their notes signed within 48 hours. The billing team needs to know that they need to get that claim out the door within max 3 days. They need to have those expectations so they can plan accordingly and make priorities. They also need to be working denials and rejections daily. And they need to understand that, right? So if you have SOPs and things written down and actually highlighting it and making some Loom videos on the SOPs is a game changer because nobody likes reading SOPs anymore. So just setting up those SOPs and expectations so then your accounting team is billing and collecting at a normal, consistent cadence. On top of that, setting targets for cash collections, because if you're meeting your visit target, you should be meeting your cash collection target. And then I'm just understanding how long, depending on your payer mix, it takes you to get that. It's kind of the same thing with your outsourced billers. So yeah, you don't have the internal processes, but your clinicians still have to sign the notes for them on time. We still need to measure and monitor how quickly those bills are going out the door, so days to bill. And we still need to make sure that the cash is coming back in a timely and consistent manner, just the same way your clinician team is working. So maybe not as much kind of hands-on with the in-house because we would need more detailed SOPs based off of the payer and kind of getting that down packed in-house, out in network, out of network. But then when you have that outsourced biller, making sure that they're touching your claims timely, that your aging buckets aren't getting out of control. And if your cash isn't coming in on a weekly basis the way you expect, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Another key thing too, I forgot to mention, is you should know a back of the napkin. You should understand your average reimbursement rate. It might be a blend of government reimbursement and commercial, but on average, you should really know your average reimbursement rate. So if it's $200 or $100, you should have a really good feel on how much cash should be coming in that week. And I wouldn't even go with that feeling. I would have it written down. I would have people accountable to it, in-house or out-house, outsourced billers, but I would have that target written down, and I would have that one someone assigned to it so they oversee it and make sure that it's happening.
So let's talk about the MedPro approach then, right? Um, the difference between someone thinking they know their numbers to the point where we have actually built KPIs, dashboards, scorecards with, we've dug deep with them. We have come up with what their reimbursable rate is. We've come up with per payer what the cycle should be, and we help them build that out. And it's interesting, the clients that thought they knew it, and then obviously the lack of cash flow was the red flag going, oh my gosh, this is not, this is out of control. We don't have this department under control. And we came in because it's like you say all the time, numbers don't lie. Numbers are our foundation, right? Like numbers tell a story. It tells part of the story, but it's an important part of the story of what's going on. And how, by establishing that, let's just say, we had a client 3 months ago that was guessing, maybe an educated guess, but they were guessing, right, where they thought they were. Obviously, something went wrong, and then they asked us to help. We stepped in, but we stepped in with measurable, so many, from denial rates, like their scorecard is not just like how much money did you collect. Like, we don't just have in there, their AR buckets. We actually have multiple items in there where we dug deep into their billing. And you've set this up. We meet with their billing team, and we identified everything that you just said right there. They needed SOPs. We gave them goals when to put in SOPs. They're hybrid version, right? Like internal team and external team. So they have a hybrid version. But I think the game changer was when they had to look at their numbers on a weekly basis. Yes. And that was their game changer. And so how do you, you've done this. This isn't an isolated incident. Like, this is something that you have seen over and over again, being able to help a client go from guessing to actually knowing. So tell us real quick, what are some of the top dashboard items, and how important it is to meet with that billing team on a regular basis?
One of the top items, well, first you have to set targets with the clinician team, because you have to think about it front end, back end. Setting targets with your clinicians, weekly targets, visit targets with your clinicians. Your DPTs don't need to know how much revenue you're shooting for, but they do need to know how many visits per day they need to have on average. And they know if they're meeting it, they know if they're not. So setting those expectations on the front end with the clinicians. The second thing is, once you have those visits and you have the pipeline and you have the productivity, making sure you have a really good pulse on the days to pay for your AR. Because if your AR is going from 20 days to pay, 30 days to pay, all of a sudden it's 40 and 50 days, your team might not be touching it as frequently as they should.
Right.
Or what if it's just not going out in time? So you need the days to bill. So I'm kind of repeating myself in regards to these KPIs, but these KPIs are really important because they tell the story and they tell you where your gaps are. If you have a high, depending on your industry, you're going to have different rejection rates and you're going to have different denial rates. And if your percentages of claims being rejected and denied are higher than industry, we have a problem. We're always going to get, insurance companies sending things back because, medical necessity. There's things that are always going to happen. And that's accounted for with those billing, metrics and KPIs. But if you're seeing excessive rejection, that means the insurance company didn't even, look at it. It pretty much got rejected because it was missing information. Maybe we need SOPs for the front desk. And there's more information on the blog, but at the end of the day, it's making sure that you really monitor, sticking with the KPIs that matter to you, depending on your payer mix, if you're cash-based, whatever your clinic has set up as their model, making sure you have some strong KPIs to measure and close any gaps if you see you have problems.
So real quick, I think when someone's cash flow is tight, it's obvious they have an AR problem. I think the hidden one is when, say, someone's cash flow is flowing and they don't realize that they have an accounts receivable problem, right? They got money coming in and they don't realize that maybe we've had a conversation recently with a client. They were like, well, I get my money. But then we were like, well, that's a little too easy. You probably left some opportunity on the table. And so I think that's the hidden side of it, is sometimes when things seem to be going well, like money's in the bank, they'll take their eye off of that. Maybe we're not being as efficient in the area, right?
And that's such a great point, because there's so much to this billing, and like there's just so much to it, right? And that's why you leverage AI, but there could be so many gaps. That's why you need to see what's going on with industry. If you're getting your cash too easy, and we take a look and do an analysis, and there's an opportunity because you've been undercharging the payers, and they're like, of course we'll pay this, Exactly. Yeah, there is a lot going on with the industry. And that's why it's always good to partner up with someone who's seeing what's going on with other clinics, your peers, and helping you to bounce that stuff off of each other. A lot of our clinics are getting now those notices from the government, budget cuts, the new regulatory thing that came through. And we just have to evaluate it on a clinic level based off of the specialty, how much that's going to impact their revenue and what's coming in. So yes, there's a lot of different things. I love getting those phone calls. Oh my God, this is the biggest check that I've seen in my life. Yeah.
Right. We love those. Versus the one, how am I going to make payroll? Right. But I think too, let's face it, people are human nature, right? So the low hanging, easy fruit's always fun. So if you're seeing, sometimes in those AR, like your visit numbers going up and you're like, oh, our cash is coming in, but you're looking at your AR and yes, your 30, 60, 90 numbers are churning, but your over 90, 120 is still sitting out there and growing. It's because those are harder claims to work. And so it's like, oh, we had complications. So what happens is you could have a billing team that is like, oh, I'll get to that one. And so you think you're making money, but you've left money on the table. You've worked for free. Yes. And that hurts my heart, right? And so that's one of the things that we've talked about. So let me ask you real quick, as we close up this particular segment, like Joanne said, she wrote a little bit more detail in the blog. We're going to share it down, in the comments so you guys can go read it. Of course, if you have any particular questions on here, we want to hear it. We want you guys to comment down below. We'd be more than happy to even do another live segment if it's a particular topic that you guys want to go deeper on. But if someone right now is watching this and they're thinking that we have a problem with our accounts receivable, we have a cash flow problem, or we don't have SOPs in place, if they don't necessarily come on with MedPro for us to do everything else that we do for them, is there a place for someone to reach out and say, Joanne, we got a problem with accounts receivable? This dashboard KPI measurement system that you guys are talking about, is that a conversation that someone can reach out and get help with?
Yeah, definitely. What makes us special is the fact that yes, we're CPAs and we're accountants, but that we understand the rev cycle. So we could definitely give you a free consultation, give you some feedback, give you, you know what, we can actually tell you, you actually need to take this back to your biller, and these are the steps, and this is the stuff you need to put into play. So we could definitely give them a free consultation and just give them little insights and nuggets so they can get themselves organized and they can start to really drill in on where the issue lies.
That's awesome. So down below, you guys can see our website, medprocfo.us. So you can go out there, and of course, you can see the blogs. That's where all our blogs are booked. And you can actually click on to book a call with Joanne. And it's with Joanne. You're not going to end up with somebody else. This is us. And so you would get Joanne. You can also email us. Down at info@medprocfo.us. And then, of course, we ask you guys, go out here and follow us. We're on LinkedIn. Of course, we're on Instagram and all that too. But we realize that sometimes you guys want to start a professional conversation with us, a comment. So go out. We look forward to those. That's going to drive our topics here on MedPro Live. We want to meet you guys where you're at and share our experiences with you and some of our tips. So you guys feel free to talk to us, and we'll keep providing these live topics, and you guys can tap in to Joanne's experience. We are Amy Kilpatrick and Joanne Evans with MedPro CFO Live.